Hello, and welcome to Chit and Chat, a podcast all about encouraging others. Who needs encouragement? You? Well, we've got you covered. We reach out to musicians, comedians, and other organizations who are all about encouraging their communities. Help us spread the love by sharing this podcast. And now, here's your host of Chit and Chat, Jody Sheffield.
I'm in a hurry to get things done. I rush and rush until life's no fun. All I gotta do is live and die because I'm in a hurry and don't know why. It's a song by Alabama I've heard time and time again. I'm driving today and seeing my mother-in-law and had a conversation and visited for a little bit. And I'm coming back on the highway doing 60 miles an hour. You would think I was going 40. Everybody and their mother is passing me, like going 70, 65, 70. I just feel like we're always in a hurry. We're always in a rush. I can almost guarantee you when I get to a red light, most of these cars in front of me, I'll catch up to them. It's funny how it works sometimes, isn't it? We are always in a hurry. I want to challenge you. Slow down. Life goes too fast. Oh, quote from Ferris Bueller. Life moves too fast, he says. It's so true. We blink and it's been 6 months. We blink again, it's been a year. It's funny how time flies. Just heard on the radio, a gal was talking that her Facebook memories popped up and it said she ran a 5K 3 years ago. She said, what, the last 2 years ago? They just flew by. It's insane. Time is moving just as normal. You know, it's 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. And so, when we're going through life, I want to challenge you. Slow down and smell the roses. Slow down and enjoy it. Slow down and invest in time well spent with friends and family and just being out. Get fresh air. Go for a walk. Check out the water. You know, you see what I'm saying? We're always in a rush. So throughout your week this week, take some time and slow down and smell the roses. If you have roses, smell them. If you have flowers, smell them. Slow down. Just a little bit of podcast pondering today here on Chit Chat. Morning, Jackson. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Jody?
Not too bad. Morning this morning, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, it's fine. Just hanging out. It's all good. It's good timing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Jackson Feltz. He is one of the producers on Sports Radio KJR, now 93.3 FM. He is a Seattle Sounders pregame and postgame. I think do you bleed Seattle Sounders sports?
Very much so, yeah. Since 2018, we've had the broadcasts on KJR for Sounders matches, and it's just been an absolute joy to be there since then.
Before we dive into some just general conversation, I got a few icebreaker questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, hit me.
I'm giving you 2 tickets to any sporting event in the world. Where are you going?
World Cup final. Yeah, for sure. 2 tickets anywhere. I'm definitely choosing a World Cup final.
Okay.
Wherever it is coming up, whether it's Qatar or the U.S. in 2026. Absolutely choosing a World Cup final.
Nice. If you could invite 3 people at the dinner, you know, past or present, probably in the sports world, who are you picking to come to dinner with you? 3 people.
Oh, jeez. Wow, that is a total blindside. Oh man. Let me ask this question: is there wine at the dinner table?
Yes.
Good. As long as it's the good wine, I would want Brian Schmetzer there, head coach of the Sounders, just because I love picking his mind, and I think that could be very fun from the soccer world. Um, Gosh, I'm just picking my brain, thinking of that is such a difficult question. Now, do I have to choose sports world? Can I go outside the sports world?
You can go anywhere. This is your dinner.
All
By
right,
who do you want?
yeah. So give me yeah. Let's throw in there. Um, I think I'll go Stephen Hawking. I'm very into space and just the idea of theoretical physics. I don't know deep science, but I think him. And then on that same token, I'm wondered by space travel and that sort of the subject matter. I love it. So give me Neil deGrasse Tyson as well.
Okay. And I am not a soccer fan by any means, but I did watch the movie Victory about a dozen times with Pele,
Yeah.
Stallone, and Michael Caine. So I'm familiar with Pele and some soccer. So I've watched a few Thunder games on TV. Never have been to one. So that's my knowledge of soccer is very little, but I know I like to root for the home team for the most part.
Good. Good.
You have a weird or useless talent that you have.
Weird or useless talent. Well, I don't eat it anymore, but one of the weirdest talents I had when I used to have cereal was somehow I always figured out the exact perfect amount of milk to cereal ratio when you pour the milk in,
Oh yeah.
where you leave no milk remaining in the bowl when you finish the cereal. That's the weirdest talent that I had, but somehow I always figured it out.
That is a scientific talent there to equal the just the right amount. Instead of drinking the 2 cups of
Exactly.
cereal milk left over. What's your favorite movie you could watch over and over again?
Contact, Jodie Foster, basically the I think what is the best view of what would actually happen if humans made contact with an alien species.
Okay. Are you born and raised in Seattle? Are you all Seattle? You've been here
Yep.
all your life?
Yep, I was born and raised in Kirkland, right across Lake Washington over the 520 bridge. Came out to Seattle Pacific University for school, and now I'm moving down to basically Northeast Tacoma, South Federal Way area. So I'm moving south of the city, but I'm still 206 253 at heart.
Gotcha. I'm over at 36 Elvers over in Silverdale, so I'm just across the way.
There you go.
Top 3 Seattle sports memories.
Number one, MLS Cup 2019 for sure. The Sounders winning the championship at home in front of 70,000 people. I remember taking the air while crying for the post-game show. It was just such a beautiful moment, and what was such a wonderful day to spend it with a bunch of great people. Number two, Super Bowl 48, Seahawks winning the championship. I was with my parents at their house, and when Percy Harvin returned the second half kickoff for a touchdown, I remember just hugging my dad and embracing and in tears, basically knowing that I would win the Seahawks the championship. And number three, it's close. It's close between the NFC Championship game in 2014, the NFC Championship game in 2013. So either the tip or the Curse touchdown, because I was in the press box for the tip for Richard Sherman's tip. I was on the field for Curse's touchdown working for Fox Sports. Or Sounders winning in 2016, where I wasn't even there. I was on my honeymoon, booked it 2 years in advance, and just screwed up the timing. But the beauty of it was I was at the customer service counter of this cruise ship we were on in the Caribbean, and it had just started that day, and I'm at this customer service counter, and I'm having the customer service person keep refreshing ESPN.com to tell me what was happening in Toronto during the penalty kicks, and upon learning that Roman Torres hit the game-winning kick and the Sounders won their first MLS Cup, I proceeded to run all around the middle of this cruise ship, just in my Sounders garb, waving this scarf over and over, jumping for joy with a lot of people. This was at about 12:30 a.m., by the way, on this cruise ship. Bunch of people just giving me these weird looks about what the hell is wrong with that guy. All three of those would be probably in a tie for third.
What is he drinking?
Well, and that's the funny thing. Like, yeah, I had alcoholic beverages earlier in the evening, but like I was trying to go to sleep. I'm like, okay, I'll learn what the score was in the morning, but I couldn't sleep, and it's just like, no, I have to go figure out what the heck is happening. And yeah, what a memory that was.
My brother has lived in Colorado for quite a while, and when we kind of demolished him in the Super Bowl, we didn't talk much, but I called him a few days ago going, hey, you're welcome for having my quarterback now, so get off my back.
Yeah, and then apparently Mile High, the stadium there was on fire last night. I'm not sure what Russ was cooking, but it was too hot.
Apparently, yeah, they're pre-cooking. Apparently, I got three Sounders questions for you. We'll test your Sounders knowledge. Are you
prepared? Perhaps.
All right. Who was the first Sounder to win the MLS Comeback Player of the Year? I have options if you'd like. I have Clint, George Morris, Freddie Junberg, and Eddie Johnson.
Well, I know Morris won it. Did another Sounder win Comeback Player of the Year before Morris? Boy, I remember Eddie had a good year. Clint wasn't well, because Clint obviously was down, but then he had a good 17. So did Clint? I don't know if Clint won it in 17. I'm gonna go with Morris just because I know for sure he won it.
The first Sounder was Eddie Johnson.
Eddie won it. Yeah. What was that? 2013, 2012.
I just pulled it up. So
yeah, no, yeah, he did have a good little stretch.
What team did Sounders play in the inaugural matchup in March 19th, 2009, winning 3-0 against?
New York Red Bulls.
Very good. Ding, ding, ding. How many consecutive U.S. Open Cups did the Sounders win?
3.
I found 2. You might be right, though. Oh, 3. You are correct. Page.
Yep, 3. Definitely 3. Yep.
You give me a small bio. Phelps is how long you been? You've always been a sports fan. I'm guessing you've always been in this sports industry, correct?
Yes. Yeah. My first job was with my first job with an actual company was an intern with sports radio KJR back in 2012. I was an intern for about 6 months. And that turned into running the Tacoma Rainiers baseball broadcasts out of the same building with iHeartMedia Seattle, and then from there in spring of 2014, I was hired on as an assistant producer with our morning show, and quickly that turned into being a on-air board producer for the shows that went from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I've kind of just shifted around various shifts on KJR from there, now to the point where I'm producing for Dave Softy-Mahler and Dick Fain from 3 to 7 p.m. on KJR. So it's kind of just evolved. And then I mentioned it in 2018, KJR got the radio rights to the Seattle Sounders. And from the get-go there, it was pre-game, halftime, and post-game show host. And also I host Sounders Weekly, which is the weekly hour-long show on Tuesdays at 7 p.m., where we just talk all things Seattle Sounders, talking to Garth Lagerwey, the general manager of the team, talk to a player each week, talk to an opposing broadcaster of the game coming up. So all of those roles are kind of what I have on my table. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of fun.
I got here in 1990. I'm from Arkansas. I joined the Navy, and I started listening to sports radio when it was Michael Nike and New York Vinny in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Vinny. Love Vinny.
Years ago. So I've always been a fan of the show. And what was it like being an intern for the Gas Man? And Mike Gaston, he's like the godfather of sports, isn't he?
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, what's funny to kind of go back, and you mentioned New York Vinny, a really quickly funny story. I mean, I've always wanted to be in sports broadcasting in some way. When I was 10 years old, I might have been 9 years old, and I think it was 9. Ichiro was going through a slump at the time, just like a little couple weeks slump. And as a 9 or 10-year-old, I called into New York Vinny's show complaining about how Ichiro was on a slump and asking like, is this something that we need to worry about to come? And like, obviously it was remembering it back and, being told by my parents what it was. It was very much amusing and kind of funny, but I know I remember listening a lot to New York Vinny, loved him. No, but to intern for the Gas Man, it was incredible because I was at Seattle Pacific University, and there was a program to connect students to professionals in the field they wanted to be in.
Oh, wow.
So I did a couple. It was called the Mentor Program, just brilliant program. And I did a couple of them. I was connected with Rick Riz, and I did a job shadow at what was Safeco Field at the time, and learned about being a play-by-play baseball broadcaster, and not exactly I think what I wanted to do. I did a job shadow at the other sports station in Seattle. Had thoughts there, and then I did it. What was the third time that I used the mentor program? It connected me with Mike Gastineau.
Oh, wow.
And he and I went and sat at a coffee shop in Fremont for about 2 hours on a December morning in what would have been 2011. And on that day, we talked all about the radio industry and talked all about what KJR and everything there, and just had an incredible time learning about the dynamic there. And from there, he invited me in for a job shadow. And at the job shadow, which was in early 2012, I got invited to come be an intern, and said, you should apply to be an intern and come do this. And so it's kind of that initial conversation with Mike Gastineau that led to that internship. And then just being an intern, watching people like Kevin Shockey, Elise Woodward, learning about the business was just incredible. It was, they're all such pros in their fields and do such an amazing job with what they do. To just learn from them up close right from the get-go in 2012 for 6 months was just it made me the person I am, and the in terms of the work I do today.
Oh, wow. What does the intern do?
A lot of different things. Yeah, I mean, God, it's 10 years ago now to think to this point. Like 10 years ago as an intern, it was a lot of podcasting, working with audio, doing up various audio cuts. So taking a full interview of whether it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and then just grabbing the 25-second pieces of audio that are really good answers that would be replayed on the station on our show and various other shows. It'd be doing little things like working on game shows like Is Elise Faking It? I would write up what was it, about 10 statements, some factual, some not factual, and Elise would read them, and the callers would guess, if is Elise faking it? Is she right or is she wrong? And try to win prizes.
Okay.
It was a lot of kind of just kind of behind the scenes work, making everything run smoothly, and helping out in any way I could, and meanwhile just soaking up as much knowledge as I could from these people.
That's what we bio on Facebook. You were a booth runner. What does a booth runner do?
Oh man, yeah, Fox Sports was fun. I did that for a few years, and thankfully it was the few years where the Seahawks were especially good. But basically, being a runner with those Fox broadcasts means kind of helping out specific people in any way needed. So a couple of times I did it on the field where you're carrying camera equipment and running up and down the sidelines. I remember, during the 2014 NFC Championship Seahawks Packers, I was working with Chris Myers on the Packers sideline, and we were listening into various conversations. Like I remember, standing, basically 3 feet behind Aaron Rodgers on the bench, and just listening to how angry he was that they couldn't, they couldn't score more, and that the Seahawks were slowly coming back, and he was just pissed. And it gives you a little different perspective on Aaron Rodgers. So so it's that, but then up in the booth, it's kind of just it's getting food for everybody. It's making sure everybody has coffee, water, tea, whatever they need. Make sure that if anybody needs a snack, they have it. It's talking to the kitchen staff and making sure Troy Aikman has a chicken breast for halftime. It's just little things to make sure everything in the booth, everybody has kind of the little things that they need. Sometimes it's running down to the production trucks and grabbing a cord. It's just a runner to run and get things when they're needed.
Gotcha. And you were a broadcaster for the Rainiers, right? I bet you've seen a lot of young up and coming Mariners throughout those the year or so you were there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just a producer back in the
Okay.
booth,
Okay.
at iHeart Seattle. It wasn't like I was at Cheney Stadium or
Okay.
anything. But no, I mean, you do get to listen to Mike Curto, who's their play-by-play voice at the time, Mike, talk about these young guys coming up, like G-Man Choi, who then turns out to be a pretty good player, and guys like that who just come through the system, and players who definitely don't work out, as we know all too well with the Mariners.
And now you're producing the Dick Fane Softy show. They've been around forever. I think Softy's the biggest Husky homer, and Dick Fane's the biggest Gonzaga homer. Correct?
I that's it's a bit for sure. It's a bit that we rib Dick on, like in Gonzaga. I mean, like, yeah, it's fun to do on the radio, but I yes, I was happy Gonzaga was knocked out, but I was also mad that the referees had such an impact in Arkansas's win last night.
Well, I'm born and raised in Arkansas, so
Oh, I bet you're happy.
I was, yeah, it was. They were 0-10 against number one seed, so I haven't had that feeling since 1994 when they won the championship against Duke. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, my mom was texting me after the game. Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching? Duh. Yes, I'm watching. What's it? Do you make a lot of calls to writers and coaches and players for interviews for your shows, or how does that work normally
Yeah,
during the broadcast?
yep. Yes to the writers and reporters, not really to the coaches. In those scenarios, like whenever we get, like for example, we had Pete Carroll on our show earlier this week. That's a situation where Softy personally sets that up with the Seahawks, and or I when we get a Mariner player on, I'll be reaching out to the Seattle Mariners directly and their communication staff, and we'll set up interviews from that way. But yeah, and I think in our show we have such a strong 3-person team. Then, and each one of us has different contacts in different areas, that the three of us really do step up in different ways to book what I think is a great show each day, with a whole bunch of different kinds of guests. And one person may know somebody else better, so they reach out to that person. So we definitely share those kind of tasks, and it's sort of it's best idea wins, and it's best idea wins and best guest wins.
This podcast is about encouragement. So I'm kind of curious, any encouragement you received along your career, and you can kind of share with somebody else who's looking to get into this field of sports or broadcasting, or in turning. Just how do you encourage someone, and someone who's giving you encouragement along the way? You mentioned Gas Man, so
yeah, no, for sure. And I think gas is kind of where definitely that thought starts, which is kind of I think just understanding the business and understanding the nature of the business, and kind of just knowing that it's going to be a lot of hard, dirty work, and a lot of behind the scenes work, and not getting not getting necessarily the big name you want to right out of the gate, but just knowing that, hey, I'm going to have to spend a lot of years putting in work behind the scenes, and a lot of work, kind of just doing the dirty work of not only dirty, but just kind of, yeah, the tough work, and to get to where you want it. So just having that mindset going in, and then just taking every opportunity where it's given. I mean, for me, timing just happened to work out so well at so many different points. I got to KJR and started being the assistant producer of the morning show in 2014, and then the guy who was producing the shows from 10 to 3, he left just 2 months after I got there, so I slid into that role. So it's just taking every opportunity, timing and otherwise, when possible, to make a jump to that, to whatever next level you want to reach, and just watching for those opportunities, always being on the lookout, for when you can do something. I mean, for me, when I started covering the Sounders, in, what was that, 2015, I think it was 2015 or 16, but I knew we had a reporter who was doing stuff for the Mariners and for the Seahawks, and I saw there wasn't anybody doing anything for the Sounders. So I went to my boss and I said, I want to report on the Sounders, and just take opportunities where you see them, and take as many chances as you possibly can to move further to where you want to be, because have an idea of where you want to end up. And yes, that may change over the years, but just have an idea and then take whatever steps you can to and jump at whatever opportunity you can to get there.
Not too often do we come across our dream job. Are you in your dream job?
I mean, currently, no. I think I'm in my dream business of sports broadcasting for sure.
What's your dream job?
I mean, it's so funny because it's changed over time so much.
Okay.
I mean, as a kid, I wanted to do baseball play-by-play and do what Rick Riz does, because my hero growing up was Dave Niehaus. Dave Niehaus was everything to me. It was a tough, kind of just realization when he passed. But you just kind of, you hold that person as a legend, as a hero in your mind, and that's kind of where I always wanted to get. The more I learned about the business, I did that job shadow of Rick Riz, I learned, okay, that isn't necessarily for me. And to be honest, even right now, I don't know if I have the clear exact view of the exact thing I want to do with the rest of my life and where exactly I want to be, ending up, whether, it's in this host seat, whether it's in a co-host seat of a radio show, whether it's doing a play-by-play, Sounders or something like that. I'm kind of just, I'm in that process right now of just taking every opportunity I'm given and jumping at wherever I can jump, to both learn more about various opportunities in sports broadcasting, and to just broaden my horizons of everything. And just as I grow more and as I learn more, there will be, specific things that I'll pick up on, I think, and say, okay, I think this best fits my talents. I know I'm really, really good as a Sounders pre-half post game. I feel most in my element there of being able to say, okay, I have these 2 or 3 people around me. How do I best utilize their knowledge and their skill set in this show? And how do I, best ask this question to this person to utilize their knowledge? I feel most in my element there. So whether that's like a studio host type person, I'm not sure. I'm kind of just still, just taking it all in and figuring out exactly where I want to be and where that dream job exactly lies.
Something about sports I always loved is you kind of remember, you can visualize where you were at on certain moments in history, Super Bowl, the MLS, whatever. It's always nice to have that memory in your head that, I was there, and I was on the sideline or whatever it could be, with others, and it's a lot better than politics. I rather talk sports with anybody than anything else. I had a chance to travel the Mariners back in '91. I was in the Navy. I drove to Bellingham. I didn't know where Bellingham was, but I haven't. I tried out for the Mariners. That was I saw it in the Chit Chat Sun, so it was like, cool. I tried out for the Mariners. That's kind of my history.
That's pretty cool.
Of being my memory of sports, and I love baseball. I love watching baseball as a kid. Now it's more like I like football and more of the action. But yeah, I was always a Dave Niehaus when I grew up in Arkansas, so I listened to all the commentators from the Braves and the Cardinals. So I was always involved watching sports and getting the baseball cards, and so I've always been involved in sports my entire life. I'm 51, so I've been around sports all my life. So it's a great. It's always fun hearing stories from people, and to get their where they're at on certain moments in history.
Yeah, for sure.
So appreciate your time. I know you're getting prepared for your show, and thanks for reaching out to me today and just discussing sports. And on my podcast is about encouraging people and challenging people to step out of the box and to share positivity, not negativity. So thanks very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Jody, this was fun, man. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Thanks. Bye.
What a great conversation I had today with Jackson Felts, producer from Sports Radio FM 93.3 here in Seattle, Washington. Great conversations of sports and just picked his brain with stuff. and he shared some encouragement along the way he received throughout his career. And as we go on throughout this week, encourage someone. Reach out to someone who could be struggling. Reach out to someone who's kind of dragging a little bit. Give them some uplifting words, some kind words, just some encouragement. This is Chit and Chat. Have a great day. Have a great week. Till next time. This episode of Chit and Chat was brought to you by Veteran Roasters Coffee. Each purchase of Veteran Roasters Coffee helps employ one of tens of thousands of U.S. military veterans who have found hardship and difficulty upon transitioning home from service. They promise you the best beans from the best veteran-owned coffee company. Veterans helping veterans one cup at a time. Use the code CHITCHAT25 to receive 25% off your purchase at veteranroasters.com.